we start another McFiles show on this Thursday night. I said Tuesday night. It's Thursday. My guest has such a sobering effect on me after he's been gone for so long. My heart is just so moved tonight that we've got the one and only Brad Johnson back with us, and Elvis too. You know, he's aged so much since I've known you. You know, we're going on 6 years knowing each other, Johnson, and you know, Elvis is getting older along with me and you. And but we want to welcome you back to the program. But I'm grateful you had some time to yourself, and we're grateful that you're back because we have missed your expertise, and we're grateful to have you tonight. Good to see you, bud. How are you?
Doing very well, Chris. It's great to see you too. And yeah, it was nice to be away, but it's always good to be back too. And you know, somebody has to, verbally abuse you to keep you in check once in a while. I figure I'm the best suited for the job. So yeah, I got to come back. It's,
See,
just boomeranging.
there's this little voice in the back of my head that you said to me that night at that Christmas party when you said, "I know where you live," and see, that's why I keep myself in check with you. That's you know that I'm never going to say nothing to offend you because I remember that. But I tell you, all jokes aside, it has been a good run. I've always enjoyed you. Our friendship has grown these 6 years, and you are just a good guy, and I appreciate you, and I do appreciate your service to our country. And we've always turned to you to talk about these national security issues, and we got a lot of them, buddy. I tell you, since you've been gone, we've had a lot happen. I do want to tell our audience we're going to share with Brad for about 30, 40 minutes. We'll take your questions tonight at the end like we normally do, so just hang on to those till the end. But I do want to ask you about the Russia situation because that seemed to unravel over the weekend. And I thought about you a lot because I know that you've had dealings with this kind of situation overseas, this general that started coming against Putin and, and all of a sudden it went away and I think nobody knows where it stands tonight. The media, Brad, we can't trust the media. I don't trust a freaking word out of anybody's mouth, even Fox. I don't trust anybody. And I'm just curious, when you saw this taking place with this general trying to basically cause this mutiny in Moscow, what was your thoughts and what do you think's happening right now over there? Look, this whole Ukraine thing has stunk to high heaven. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. We have wasted so much money. I think it's just an extortion hole I think that my opinion, I may be wrong about this. I just think Zelensky has got so much dirt on the Bidens that it ain't funny, and that he has just basically been blackmailing Joe Biden into paying him money, and our taxpayer dollars is going to do this cover up, and we're going to get to the Bidens in a minute, but it stinks to high heaven. And then the media throws this bomb out there that Putin's about to lose the Kremlin, he's about to flee Moscow. It makes no sense to me. I'm just curious what you're feeling and what you're hearing and what's going on over there in Russia and Ukraine tonight.
Yeah, okay. I would say one thing. You and I have touched on this before, but the fact that Ukraine has just become a black hole for money being sent out of the United States. I mean, I tend to agree that at least there's an element of cover up to this, where Biden is making sure that money stays there, keep Ukraine happy, and keep them shut up, because Biden is also aware of his mortality. I mean, he knows he's dying, and the people that I know that have gone senile, they know their brain is rotting on them and stuff. So he knows what's happening to him, knows that it's the beginning of the end, or maybe the middle of the end at this point with him, because he's getting to be in pretty bad shape, and he's deteriorating before our eyes. It gets worse and worse. But I think that's part of it. Is he doesn't want it to blow up on his watch, and 4 years from now he's not going to be alive anyway. So I think he's just trying to kick the can down the road. One of the reasons I say that too is because OAN did a fabulous series of reports on it, and they sent one of their reporters, who's actually somebody I know, to Ukraine, who came back and did a tremendous job with a lot of the details and uncovered all sorts of stuff out of Ukraine. Did a really great job. So that is something, if anyone cared to go back and research, they can find all that stuff on OAN. And so it's all there. There's just no doubts of it. It's all there. It's been reported in the news. So Biden knows it too. And, he's bragged about some elements of it. So I think there's an element of truth to the fact, or to the belief, that a lot of this is done just to keep Ukraine silent on these issues. Now, onto the Russia thing. Yeah, this all started, I was kind of quiet on it. I was traveling and doing some other things, but I was also watching this unfold. And I'm going, well, I'm a little bit not sure what to say, because I know what I'm watching is bullshit. So, what do you say about that? It's like, there's nothing that they're saying is true, but what is true, I'm just not sure. Now, so as this has unfolded, I mean, there's a lot of quirky little things that have popped up, but the Wagner Group is basically a mercenary army. They
Right.
claim to be 25,000 soldiers strong, but even if it was 20,000, the relationship between the Russian government and the Wagner organization, this mercenary group, Wagner group, is symbiotic. I mean, they need these troops to go do the dirty work, and they need the Russian government to pay the bills. I mean,
Right.
You're going to run out of money really quick if you're paying the salaries of 25,000 people.
Gotcha.
And that spigot gets turned off. So they need each other. So that was one of the things I'm watching about this thing, going, well, this just doesn't make any sense. And they all start roaring down the highway in this big column of trucks, and I saw some pictures of it. And yeah, they put space between the trucks and all that kind of stuff. And there was supposedly a helicopter that got shot down. I mean, it showed a helicopter burning on the ground. Did it get shot down, or helicopters? They love to shake themselves apart and fall. They're kind of a dangerous aircraft to be in, just in general. I've crashed in a helicopter. That it's just, these things are, like I said, from the day they're made, that they're brand new and you flip it on the first time, they try to shake themselves into pieces for the rest of their life as an aircraft.
Right.
At any rate, so they're going down these roads now. It seems like everybody in reporter land, these daft imbeciles that do the news reporting, who I highly respect, by the way, and I say daft imbeciles.
You just gave me a brand new word that I can use and say, hey, it's not my word, it's Johnson's word, daft imbeciles. Daft imbeciles. I like it.
Yep.
That replaces dumb foolery for the word of 2023. Daft
well,
imbeciles.
It's my early birthday gift to you. You may have it. That's absolutely yours from now on. Anyway, these guys, it's like, what are we all going to pretend that Russia doesn't have an air force? We're just going to pretend that they don't. They have air superiority aircraft that Wagner Group cannot match. They can get aircraft, a bunch of MiGs flying around over that. And any ground-to-air missiles that Wagner might have, they're going to take out. And they have a whole bunch of ground attack helicopters that are built to turn columns of tanks and trucks into mincemeat.
Yes.
And they could have done that in 30 seconds. But instead, this column is driving all the way halfway to Moscow unopposed. Well, unopposed, if it's unopposed, it's because Putin has decided not to do anything. So why would Putin decide not to do anything? So I'm looking at all this going, well, okay, this is crap. I mean, I don't know what's really going on necessarily, but I know that none of this is true.
Right.
And this guy who's the leader of the Wagner Group, if you go, I went back and looked. I speak a little bit of Russian, not great, but I went back and started kind of looking at the stuff he said and looking at translations of it and stuff. And I can figure out based on that what's being said pretty well for myself, And he was critical of these, for the most part, unnamed Russian generals and unnamed army leadership and stuff. And yes, there was some criticism on a couple of times, not directly from him, but there was some criticism of Putin, but it was kind of out of, some spokesman in some little town somewhere saying something from the Wagner Group, oh, that Putin, he's going to get his, But there was very little direct criticism and very little specific criticism. If you're going to go to war and you're staging a coup and you're going to take out a dictator that is perfectly happy to kill anybody who stands up to him and has done it over and over and over and over, you're not going in there going, well, I really don't want to talk bad about Putin. If I'm going in there to kill him, you're going to be calling him a rotten scoundrel or daft imbecile or something because that's what your thoughts are at that point. So they were very restrained in every way on all of this, which of course that means this is, a good friend of ours here at AIR, one of our senior fellows, James Akers.
Yes.
James does these every Sunday. They're often faith-based op-eds and stuff, which we publish on the AIR website. And he just did one on Russia as well with many of the same sentiments I'm expressing here. And he called it watching a kabuki dance, which is this Japanese dances where they beat the drums and they all scream and stuff and they all have puppets dancing around, but you're not seeing anything really happen. You're just watching puppets and drums and stuff. And then I thought that described it really well because that's what we're watching. And Thanks to James for that one, that comment. You can have that one too.
Kabuki dance. That's two. That's two. Daft Imbecile and Kabuki dance. Okay, I've learned two things tonight. Do you think it was staged? Do you think all this was just a stage ploy for the media? What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, there was the one thing that struck me out of this when the deal was supposedly struck, where peace was achieved in our time, sort of stuff. All of a sudden, magically, over the weekend, when they were already halfway to Moscow unopposed. Well, the one thing they said is that as part of the agreement, the Wagner troops were going to be folded into the Russian military. Now, what struck me about that is who is the winner if that happens? And the winner if that happens is Putin.
Yes.
Because when you're paying mercenaries to go out and fight, you have to actually pay them, and you have to pay them pretty well. Certainly compared to what a Russian soldier makes, the Wagner troops are paid better. So if he folds them in, it's a huge break for his budget, for his military budget. So if there's any truth to any of what we've seen, that's the one thing that floats to the top, that maybe what he did was made a deal with Wagner leadership and just said, look, guys, I can't afford to pay you anymore. So let's have this kabuki dance. And at the end of the dance, I'm going to fold all your troops into the army so I can cut their pay by 90%. And they're going to be regular troops at that point. And I'll give them great ranks and all that kind of stuff, whatever the deal would be. That's the one thing that I look at and go, well, maybe, it's a little far-fetched, but maybe that could be. It hasn't happened yet, but that's a possibility. One other thing, let me say, and I'll shut up again.
No,
but
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, thanks. The one thing, the leader of the Wagner Group, also out of this deal, walks away. Supposedly no longer the leader of the Wagner Group, and he goes to Belarus. Belarus is a surrogate of Putin, and it's the same thing as just turning himself into Putin to turn himself into Belarus. I mean, there's no difference there. It's the guy in power in Belarus is Putin, and whatever he says goes. So here's this guy, a very experienced military guy. He understands the Russian bureaucracy extremely well, and the press has been reporting, all this reporting about him now out of the press is dead man walking. I hear that over and over and over. Oh, you're so sophisticated. You know how to say dead man walking like that's some special concept. And, it's this, nuanced perspective, which is, again, from the mind of a daft imbecile is great. But that guy knows this stuff. If he has money, he understands the deal. Does he, as part of the deal, he commits suicide? Because that would be the only way it makes any sense for him to go to Belarus, is that he's agreed to commit suicide. Because if it was a real thing where he was going to go kill Putin, Putin's going to make sure he doesn't see the light of day. So none of that makes sense. If he went to Belarus, it's because he knew it was fine. He couldn't just suddenly go to Moscow because that would look too weird. But he didn't want to go anywhere else, so he went to Belarus because that's in the same battle region. Belarus is also on the border with Ukraine.
Yes.
Russian troops have been posted there for a long time. I mean, that I take as absolute proof that he didn't believe he was under threat.
Okay.
I mean, he may be wrong, but it's proof he doesn't think he's under threat.
Question, and this may be a hard question to answer, but it goes back to the staging part. How much of a role do you think Ukraine and Zelensky was involved in this? Do you think they were doing this for optics, or do you think that this was all this one general, this rogue general? Because as you just described, look, I watched this. It caught my attention Saturday night when it was breaking. And of course, I don't believe our media. If they told me the sky was blue, I wouldn't believe them. If they told me anything, I wouldn't. I don't believe a word out of any of these networks. The only ones I listen to, the OAN is good. Newsmax, for the most part, is good. Gateway Pundit, the main conservative outlets. I look at AIR, your website, Intelligence Reform, Americas for Intelligence Reform, intelreform.org. But Brad, I don't believe anything our media says. And I knew the second that this was breaking that they were trying to make Putin look bad and that Putin was under threat and, the Russia was crumbling. I heard everything this weekend. I heard he had fled Moscow. Saturday night, I had heard that, he had lost power. This general was inches away from the Kremlin. And it struck me that the only thing that narrative benefits is to give the impression that the Ukraine is winning the war, that the Ukrainians are now going to be okay. It may be a dumb question, but do you think there was any part of Zelensky that had his hand in that?
That is a superb question. I've wondered that myself. I am not sure. I just haven't been able to make up my mind based on the data available so far. There's just not enough information available to really have a, kind of an insightful answer to that. There's things that make me wonder. I mean, small things, like, for example, one of the reports that came out said that the Wagner Group shot down one of the AN aircraft, a Russian military aircraft. And they shot it down using a ground-to-air missile that's produced by the UK that had been issued to Ukraine. Oh, well, that's interesting. If that's true, that's interesting. Presumably they captured it, but, could it have been given to them as part of cooperation?
Yeah.
Those things are possible, but, there's just tidbits of data out there that I'm just not sure they're true to begin with. There was also a report that an entire GRU unit defected over to Wagner Group at one point too.
I heard that too.
Now, yeah, the GRU is the Russian military intelligence arm of the military army, and it is kind of its separate little fiefdom in there, and it's got its own generals and people and all of that. And that's where Wagner Group, they're joined at the hip with the GRU. That's how they're handled. They're part of Russian military intelligence. The regular Russian military and Wagner Group do have conflicts. I mean, there was a report that also came out maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago now, probably, where they said that the Wagner Group had got caught making a deal with the Ukrainians where they said, you pull back out of this town, give us this town so we can occupy it, and we're going to give you all of the order of battle information on the Russian troops over there in the next town. And, like, how many are stationed where, what they have, how many tanks, what ammo, all that stuff, so they could go in and give them a shellacking. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it's an interesting report. Are there problems between Wagner Group and the regular Russian military? For sure. I mean, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be jealousies and competitiveness, and all of those sorts of things are going to exist. Does it also sometimes get people killed? Yeah, it does. Are there negotiations going on? Like, would the Wagner Group negotiate with the Ukrainians to get something they want? Yes, they would. Would the Russians do that behind the scenes sometimes to get what they want with the Ukrainians? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are going on, in the dark of night out there as well. There's a lot of back and forth out there as well as fighting. So it's a great big pile of doo-doo that anything can happen in any direction.
I know.
And you can't predict it. And would some Russian military leaders, like, could you go up to a colonel or a lieutenant colonel in the Russian army as a Ukrainian and say, I'll give you $50,000 if you do X, Y, Z? That crap happens out there with those guys, both directions, all directions. I'll put it that way. So
I just get this sense. I just get this sense that we are being played, and the only loser in this is going to be the United States of America. I feel like from day one, Brad, we are being played so bad. Our economy is suffering right now. I was reading some reports today how it was a USA Today article of all things, and when the USA Today turns on you, you're screwed because it's liberal rag, and they were even saying that there is growing dissatisfaction. 52%. So that's independents. It's not just the liberal. It's not just the far right that is complaining about this, but people are complaining here about inflation. They're complaining about the gas prices. They're complaining about everything. Our economy is just sinking, and these illegals coming over. And the country's sentiment is that they are beginning to catch on to the joke of Joe Biden and the economy. And then we're sitting here listening to him every time the phone rings in the White House. Is Zelensky saying, I need another $10 billion, or I need another $50 billion, or I need another $6 billion. And it's just like it's an open checkbook. And the only people that's getting screwed in this is not Ukraine. It ain't the Wagner Group. It ain't Putin. It's us. And that's what I think at the end of the day, when this smoke clears, it's going to be the biggest Ponzi scheme. I mean, since not Kevorkian, what's the guy Madoff, which Bernie Madoff went to prison for. It's the freaking biggest Ponzi scheme I've ever seen in the world. Is that close?
There's a lot of those shenanigans going on in the background. There's just no question. I think there's so much corruption. It's hard to tell which one to pick first.
Oh, I know.
But I will say too, one of the things you didn't mention, which I know is you and I have talked about, is the fentanyl thing. And fentanyl is coming through the border in unbelievable quantities. Unbelievable. At this point now, more people die every year from fentanyl than died in the entire Vietnam War. On an annual basis, more people from fentanyl than the entire Vietnam War. That's freaking nuts. But, credit where credit's due. Liberals have got it figured out, and they're going to solve the whole thing by making sure that no pizza ovens are able to use wood to cook your pizza with. We've got it solved, dude.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Have we lost our slapdag minds? I swear, I could use a few other vernaculars, but this is a family show tonight. We just lost our blanking minds, Johnson, in this country. We're just going crazy. But, all right, now, let me bring you back down home to what's going on here domestically, because what's going on here domestically, I believe, is tied to what's going on overseas. I've followed this, but sometimes I don't articulate it as good as somebody like Brad Johnson can. But let me try to do my McDonald version, and you give me the correct version of this. The events that's happened with the son of the current president. We find out that since you've been gone, we hadn't talked about this, and I'm going to get to President Trump before we leave tonight. But we found out over the weekend, too, in this last week, within the last few weeks, that there has been bribes basically given to both Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And I've been hearing figures as high as $30 million apiece. I know it started at $5 million apiece, but $10 million, and it went up to 30. I mean, I don't know who to believe at this point. I wouldn't doubt if it wasn't more than that. I mean, I don't know how much money these two have gotten from Burisma and then. I'm hearing rumblings this week and the last few nights that Comer and the congressional committee that's investigating this have got evidence that bribes were coming from China, of all places, and that they were, that Joe Biden was doing this during his vice presidency during Obama. That Hunter Biden laptop, you've told me, and we've talked about this too many times on this show, has got so much crap on it. Me and you go to jail. We'd be in jail for 100 years if that was on ours. If what stuff that's on his laptop was found on ours, we'd go to jail for 100 years. All of a sudden, like pixie dust falling out of heaven, Hunter Biden is now going to get a sweetheart plea deal where I wouldn't even call it a slap on the wrist. The media is calling it a slap on the wrist. That's being generous. It ain't even a slap on the wrist. It's
more like a kiss on the cheek.
Kiss on the cheek, get out of jail free card. He's not even going to see a day in jail for basically a BS tax charge and a BS gun charge. None of the real stuff is going to be addressed in the courtroom. And the media is still calling for Trump's head over something that he had a legal right to do. But yet they're ignoring this, and which we expected him to. It's the daft imbeciles of CNN and the daft imbeciles of MSNBC. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, the daft imbeciles at Fox, because Fox is not doing much better. They're not reporting the corruption of the Biden crime family. And you and I have talked about this many times, that this whole thing is percolating, but it has ties, Brad, should have people concerned tonight, and this is what I want you to speak to. If there is a foreign power that is influencing our government and with bribery and paybacks and kickbacks and money to that amount, that should be very concerning to all of us, because, buddy, you spent 30 years of your life keeping foreign powers at bay in this country to protect us from our foreign enemies, both foreign and domestic, correct? And it doesn't help when the fox is paying the hen and the hen is paying the fox to destroy this country.
Well, you sum it up nicely. And there's ample proof. One other thing I want to mention about all of that, and I'm not sure that it's something that you had picked up on on the reporting on it, but In some of those emails that Hunter Biden has been sending out, they've discovered classified information.
Yes.
He was drawing information from classified documents. And guess which classified documents those were drawn from? Those are drawn from those ones that are in Biden's garage,
That's
parked
right.
out by his Corvette in those boxes. And those are the documents that it was drawn from. So, it remains to be proven, but what it looks like is that Hunter Biden was combing through those documents, which I don't think Hunter Biden ever had a clearance.
No.
He was combing through those looking for information that's useful, which would mean the whole purpose of having brought them home by the vice president. And by the way, the vice president does not have the authority to declassify. But he brought those home for the purpose of selling the information in there to China for money. Well, how do you define that in any way but treason? And is that being investigated? I don't hear a lot of Republicans talking about it. Now they're careful to not go too far out on the limb, but I mean, as a Republican, I wouldn't be that hesitant to say more about this stuff. I mean, I would say, look, it has to be proven, but this is a very, very serious thing. If those were brought home by the vice president for his son without a clearance to go through to then sell to China, that's treason. And we need to get to the bottom of it. Anybody who's blocking this investigation is out of their effing mind. That's the way to go after this stuff. And what are they going to say? Conspiracy theory, da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, there's evidence for this. This is not a conspiracy theory. It may not necessarily be provable. It may not necessarily be what has happened, but there's evidence it did happen, and we need to investigate it. But the Republicans, for the most part, are going about it, very kind of professionally. They're coming out and saying a lot of things. They're not as fiery as I would like to see, but
thank you. And let me interrupt you right there. That's what's pissing me off. Look, Comer, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and I'm going to say Jim Jordan. I'm going to call him out on this. Stop playing the dramatics. Stop being a bunch of drama queens. Show the freaking stuff you got. Let us hear the phone calls. Show us the memos. Show us this crap. Stop going on Fox News and telling us we got all this information and there's damning information. We've got it right here and you don't see it. I'm sick of it, Brad. You're right. It's the Republicans. They've got the power to see justice done to this crime family and stop this treason, and they don't do it. And that's what burns us up out here in this real world of America. And I'm just, and look, the Bidens, we've always known this stuff. See, the common guy down at the restaurant that me and you will probably go sit down with and talk to, the cook, the waiter, the guy at the gas station that makes $10 an hour, they look at this country and they can see this stuff from 10 million miles away that this is corrupt as hell. But you've got career politicians in D.C. that are so scared we can't really, make the media mad at us and really go and kick the blanking crap out of this stuff and get it done. That's what I want him to do. I'm with you. Get some fire underneath your britches, as we say in the South. Get some fire in your britches and burn it down. Burn it down, right?
Love to see it. We're not going to see it, but I'd love to see it. They may quietly end up going somewhere with this, or at a steady pace, they may end up going somewhere with this. But I think part of it, there's multiple layers to this. One thing, all these guys are politicians. That's part of our problem, is they're all politicians. Politicians, especially in Congress, get elected every 2 years. So they're doing these things, and they come out and have a public announcement, and then they send an email to all their donors and say, I did this today, I was on Fox News, I need your support.
Exactly.
Do you want to see justice done? Send me money. And so they're all doing that. It's part of their job. It's one of the unfortunate elements. I mean, there's no real way around it, but that detracts from what we need to have done. The other thing is, I think some of it is timing. And I think what they want to do is see Joe Biden win the nomination first and then nail him.
Wow.
So I think there is an element of that. Now that's politically wise, in my opinion. You don't want to drive him out now. It would create chaos, but you might then get somebody in who's better.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. That's an excellent point. And speaking of politics, do you think RFK Jr.'s got a prayer against him? I've been I have to tell you, out here in the public, Uh, I don't have many Democrat friends, but RFK Jr. is getting some traction with people because of this vaccine. And he stood up against this vaccine when standing up against the vaccine wasn't cool. And there's a lot of people that are moderates that they're at least listening. I mean, they're not saying they're going to vote for him, but what's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that he's got a prayer? And I'm like you. I think that that may be politically savvy to wait till Joe gets the nomination and then deep six the whole thing. But you got Kamala behind him. That's the only problem.
Yeah, that's a serious thing too. But if they, yeah, well, we'd have to see how it unfolds. If he gets knocked out as the candidate, then you create true chaos, and none of them would be elected. Kamala would not be the candidate automatically. It's if he was president and got knocked out, she would be automatically the president. But as a candidate, they would have to come up with somebody completely different. You know, for JFK Jr., I think he's actually done a fairly savvy job of this whole thing. He's one of those dark horse candidates that, basically had no chance, but he looked at the whole situation and said, well, sometimes you bet on the come, right? You're betting that you're going to draw the right card or something like that, and that circumstances will unfold that are going to be in your favor. And I think he was really, I would say he made some pretty smart bets, the way he's set up and what he's saying. And he's basically going back to the old, he's still in the Kennedy liberal area, which is, by today's Democrat standards, is fairly conservative. He's like almost a blue dog Democrat compared to the rest of the
correct.
Democrat
Absolutely
Party.
Is.
So, which is the old position of the Kennedys, that's basically how his dad and uncle and all those guys were. So he's basically true to what he was, which lends a lot of credibility to how he's coming out on these things. He's a decent speaker. He's got some presence. He's got a name that's a household name. So I would say the only circumstances that he could have declared himself as a candidate for president where he would have any chance at all is exactly the way he's done it. So I think it was actually fairly intelligently done. Now, he cannot beat Biden as is.
I don't think he can either.
But let's say Biden has a major stroke.
Right.
He's well positioned. Let's say, something else happens that he gets, like this stuff with Hunter Biden comes out. He's well positioned. And he's going to be ahead of everybody else because nobody else is really getting in there. Now, there would be people that would try to elbow him out of the way. But he's got a name. He's been in the race. He's a legitimate candidate. He's gaining some traction. He's nowhere near Biden yet. But I think he looked at it and said, well, the only chance in hell I ever have is to get in now, position myself, run a good campaign, get some backing, get some notoriety, and hope Biden does something wrong or dies or something goes south for Biden. And I think that's what he's done, and he's done a great job of it. He's gotten backing from Steve Bannon, and different conservative talk show people and things like that. They're supporting him. Now I think they support him because he's a spoiler for Biden in a lot of ways too.
Well, and look, I don't know how he would fare in a general against Trump or DeSantis, and we'll get to that in a minute as we wrap. We're going to final segment, and we'll get some questions, but I just think it's an intriguing thing what's going on. I do want to ask you, going back to the doc thing, because I hadn't seen you in a while, and since we've talked last, Trump got indicted for basically storing those documents. He's facing now another trial for the illegal storage and conspiracy, and I mean they're trying to throw the kitchen sink at him. Do you think there's a prayer in hell that this goes anywhere, and it affects him? His numbers have went up. It's not like it's affected him politically. He's become more popular now than ever, and I don't see DeSantis getting any traction, Brad. I really don't see DeSantis doing anything, and there's no movement in the polls toward him. Trump is well in the almost 60% range of the majority with all the polls on the primary side. DeSantis is about 22, and then all the other losers are less than 10, less than 5 in some cases. But do you think any of this against Trump is going to merit anything? I mean, you got your pulse on up there in that part of the country and the world, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm talking to meet with people that are involved in all this stuff. I have never thought anybody could beat Trump. I really have never thought that. And DeSantis, and you and I've touched on DeSantis before. I want to make clear, I don't have anything against DeSantis. I think DeSantis is a pretty decent guy and would make a pretty decent president. And his wife, is a sharp cookie and good speaker and nice looking lady and all that. I mean, is the perfect political wife in so many ways. And she really is an effective speaker even on her own for her husband. So I think they're a good team, and he's a good candidate. And I think his time is 4 years from now. And I wouldn't be surprised 4 years from now to see him run for president, get the nomination, run for president, perhaps win. But he has very little chance to win against Trump. He has a relatively, benign personality, if I can say it that way.
That's right.
I mean,
good point.
He's a little bit, and not boring. That's too strong of a word, but he's just a little bit calm. Not exciting on the camera. That sort of thing. And Trump, love him or hate him, that guy's fun to watch. He's always going to do something. I have to say, kind of out of all of this, I just don't think anybody has ever been close. Nobody. If DeSantis has gotten within 30 points, it's only by 1 or 2. And and when he declared his candidacy and came out, those guys always get a bump. DeSantis lost points. Didn't gain when he declared. And that said it all. And I've mentioned before, there's some guys, that are out there running like Christie and Mike Pence and stuff like that. They have no chance. They know they have no chance.
No chance.
They're not getting money. They're really only out there as
Trump.
I hate Trump, and try to help DeSantis. Well, okay, so DeSantis is also the party candidate. If the Rhino party, a part of the party, likes him, which that doesn't necessarily mean he's bad. And they think he's the salvation, over Trump, but it's just he's the new Jeb Bush. It's just not going to happen, folks. It's just not going to happen.
I'll agree with that.
But what kills me out of this is all these, crazy-eyed Republicans waving their arms in the air, and basically all they're saying is "Orange man bad, Orange man bad, Orange man bad," and that's just you go listen to. I was listening to Chris Christie's speech at the Faith and Freedom caucus that they just had, and basically, Orange man bad, he can't be president. And, good God, and if this is what you're really doing, then shut up, drop out. If your man is DeSantis, stand up like a big boy, pull those extra large size pants all the way up and stand up like a big boy and just say, hey, I support this guy. I'm stumping for him.
Exactly.
And, all this crap pretending to be a candidate so you can try and harpoon Trump, it just shows the lack of character these guys have, and really kind of a lack of a moral compass. Have the balls to stand up and say what you mean and mean what you say. We just don't have enough of that in politics.
We've got too many daft imbeciles.
Yes, we sure do.
We've got too many kabuki imbeciles, kabuki dancers, and kabuki pot smokers is what we've got. That's what we've got. Hey, good stuff here, folks. You're watching a live. See, even Brad's dogs are agreeing with what we're saying tonight. Even Brad's dogs are agreeing. You're watching a very special live McFiles Thursday night with my dear buddy Brad Johnson, and we are glad to have him back among the living and so forth. Listen, if you got a question for Brad, you can start putting it in the chat room. I want to ask you a question, buddy, in general tonight. By the way, I got to tell you something I saw tonight, and I forgot to mention it a while ago when we were talking about Hunter Biden. Did you see the John Solomon clip tonight, the interview that he was doing? And it may have been with OAN. He got a hold of 2 of the burner phones of Hunter Biden. I don't know how he did it, but he got a hold of those phones, and he picked up one of them, called the burner phone, because some of these phones, I guess, are just programmed for one number. Guess who answered on the other end? It was none other than President Joe Biden. And when Joe Biden answered the phone, he said, "This is John Solomon," and click, 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 click. So that was, we're going to play that video here tomorrow night. on our McFiles Friday night. But I didn't know if you had heard about that. I thought that was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
But anyway,
very funny. By the way, those dogs that you're hearing in the background, those are guard dogs. They roam the perimeter during these interviews because I'm especially sensitive to anybody trying to attack me during the McFiles show.
Okay. Oh, probably your therapist. It's probably the dogs. Your therapist is trying to get in because you always have to have therapy after you come on my show.
Oh, no. All three say I'm much better.
Okay. Hey, listen, good question from Tom and Brenda Scully. Why would Pence go to the Ukraine? Has he gone to the Ukraine? I didn't know he did that. Did he go?
Wasn't aware he'd gone to the Ukraine either. I would say, probably thinking that, I don't know. I didn't know he'd gone, but probably thinking it's worth some publicity for him to go over to Ukraine and take a look at the fighting and show that he's pro, whatever the policies are that make sense, sort of pro-military, or at least, a fact-finding tour or something along those lines. I'm sure he would be looking at it from a publicity angle. I don't think, this is, I suppose, bad to say, but I don't think he's the brightest bulb in the pack just to begin with. And, I don't know. I wouldn't be looking for anything too tricky behind the scenes. I don't think there's that much going on there.
That's right. Hey, I do want to ask you, what did you think of what he said? I don't know if you heard the interview. I know you probably didn't because you was out, but somebody interviewed him. It was Newsmax or one of these right networks, and they asked him, would you pardon Trump? And he would not give an answer. He basically insinuated he would not pardon Trump if Trump got convicted of this. And it was a weak, answer. And he destroyed his political career January the 6th of 2021.
Yeah.
He
did.
Sunk his political career. Another good question, and again, this is probably knowing we don't know what he's going to do. Do you think Biden's going to choose a different, this is from Liz Goldman in Facebook, do you think that he's going to dump Kamala on round 2 because her approval rating went down this week to the lowest in vice president history? There has never been a more unfavorable vice president than Kamala Harris tonight, ever in the history of the republic. Do you think that he's dumping her and putting somebody else on the ticket?
Well, I think he would be smart to do so, but I don't think he's going to do so. I don't think he's a very bright guy, and plus he's mentally deteriorating as we speak. I don't think he's going to do that. I think she's been part of this, this whole facade of all of these things going on. I'm not sure he can dump her. Again, Kamala out in California as a prosecutor didn't have a very good reputation, and she's not known to be very bright. And I think from her performance, we can assume she's kind of dull normal. I mean, just not really aware of all of that much going on, and everybody that's ever worked for her has basically quit. But I don't think he's going to dump her. The stuff I'm hearing out there is that he's not going to. If he was getting good political advice, he would dump her immediately, because one of the things that he has to do is have somebody behind him, because if his age, even among Democrats, his age is becoming a factor. And I think he's upside down on that with Democrats, that 50% don't think he should run, and that age is a factor and that sort of stuff. So he would be very wise to pick a very solid, younger Democrat, like, for example, Gavin Newsom or something like that. If he brought Gavin Newsom in, I think that would give him a big shot in the arm and a chance, because Democrats would look at that as, oh, he's young, he's strong, he's, popular among Democrats at least, and, he was governor of California, all this sort of stuff. So I think that would be wise, but I don't think he'll do it.
Oh, I tell you what, another name that's out there, and I know people are going to screech when they hear her name, but don't be surprised that Michelle Obama's name ain't been thrown in that mix and probably discussed among circles in the background, because it would be Biden-Obama instead of Obama-Biden, but she could be a possibility. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but can you imagine the bombshell of that ticket?
Yeah, that's an interesting possibility as well. I think Michelle wants to do it. I think they're looking for a way for her to run for VP and president later. I think those are on their bucket list. Whether it gets done or not, of course, is a different question. A kind of an interesting little thing. She was out today and did a press release based on the a Supreme Court finding that was against the use of
Yes.
race
Yes.
as part of the university admissions process. So why would Michelle Obama be making a comment on that? You know,
That's a
so
great point.
Yeah, she's trying to establish herself out there. She's moving. She hasn't been doing that lately, so suddenly she's doing it now. I mean, I find the timing to be a pretty clear indicator that she's, taking her little toe and dipping it in the water to see what happens. So we'll see. That's certainly a possibility.
Me and you are politically savvy people, and timing in politics is everything. Politics is the only kind of thing where timing is essential, because saying something at the wrong time in politics gets you nowhere. You say it at the right time, it can get you elected real quick. Good question here out of YouTube tonight. Actually, Liz W says, who do you think Trump would pick as his VP? Because he's really hinted that there's going to be a major choice, and there's been so much speculation that ain't funny. But if Brad Johnson was advising Trump, I'll ask you two questions. Who do you think he's going to get, but who would you advise him to get?
Well, I had mentioned this to you once before, and I haven't changed my mind yet. A guy that I like very much, just in general, that I think would be a fabulously strong VP would be Jim Jordan.
Yes.
He's popular among the Republican rank and file. He's still in Congress and acceptable to most of Congress as somebody who they view as legitimate. He's from Ohio, which is an absolutely key state that Trump is going to have to win. So if Trump brings Miami to the table and he brings Ohio to the table in an election, that's a good start.
It's a good start. So, absolutely.
Yeah. That's who I think. There's other names out there that would be pretty good, but that would be my pick.
I'm not a huge fan of Jim Jordan, but I'm a good fan, and I think that he would make. I don't think he would hurt him. I can tell you that. I don't think he would hurt Trump at all. And I think it's time for him to sort of step out of the representative role and come on to the big boy stage. I really do. I'm not a big fan of Kerry Lake. I hope he don't go with Kerry Lake, but that's just my opinion. Now, Corey Aguilar's got a great question here. She says, I know articles have been filed for impeaching Biden. Do you think there is a chance that he actually will be? I guess that's a crapshoot, but do you think the Republicans are going to have the balls to go through with this?
Well, it would have to be a Democrat initiative or with heavy Democrat support to have any chance, because it basically, the way it works is you have the trial. He sort of gets indicted by the House, and then the House has the trial, but it gets judged by the Senate, and the Senate has to vote, and the Senate is Democrat. It's even, but Democrat control if you take Harris's vote in, if it's equal. So I think you would probably have a few Republican defectors.
Okay.
So you would have to have a good chunk of Democrats be voting with you to have any chance. So yeah. I think trying to get Biden out through that method is almost impossible.
I got you. It's a good point. Great question, Joanne Griffin. And I've not thought about this. And Joanne, you win the Apple Award tonight. Do we secretly have any American troops in Ukraine? Because there's a lot of rumblings of what's going on. Do you have any knowledge that there are troops over there that we're not being told about? Or is it in your, and you can make an opinion statement, do you think it's a possibility that we've got troops secretly operating over there?
I don't know. If I did know, I wouldn't comment on it, because then, I got to be careful on that sort of stuff. So I don't know. My opinion is that there's almost certainly some guys there, because there would be, equipment training and maintenance and things like that, where you've got to train the maintenance people and those sorts of things. So I would say there's almost certainly people there for that sort of thing, and just administrative, receiving equipment, getting training, getting the parts, ordered for replacements and all that stuff. That's a very difficult thing for an outside military force to be able to absorb and understand. So it requires transition and training and those sorts of things. So I would be very surprised if there weren't at least that level of U.S. military in Ukraine working on those things. I think the real heart of the question is, are there combat troops? Are there American combat personnel there that are taking part in combat. That I would say almost certainly not.
Okay.
You know, it is. There may be an advisor here and there or something like that, but I don't think it would go past that.
Let me ask you another question. This is a little easier than that one. Do you think there are forces in D.C. that want troops there?
I've not heard anybody say that. I
Okay.
can't think of anybody that I would look at go, yeah, that guy does.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't.
I don't either. And I think that
Yeah.
would be the tipping point where this country would revolt. I think that it's making us all sick about the money. But if Joe Biden got on that television tonight and started hinting that they were sending American boys over there, buddy, this country would go up in smoke. And I tell you what, I think that would be the tipping point, that there would be so many cries. And I think even the moderates, I think at that point would say, okay, this is enough. And again, I just think we're all being played with this Ukrainian stuff. If we ever get to the truth as to why this war even started and why the money has been flowing from the United States to the Ukraine with him in there, I think that we're going to all be embarrassed by what has been done to the United States of America by this. I just do. That's my opinion. Just a couple more questions. Carol V., your question about Michelle Obama, we just talked about that. Michelle probably wants to run. I don't see them putting her in this time. I think they're holding her out for 2028. That's just my opinion. What's your thoughts on that?
She's an opportunist with this. So if an opportunity arises to get in, she will. There's no room at the table for her right now. As long as Biden is reasonably alive, and reasonably cogent, which, he may not meet that threshold now, but as long as he's at least more or less where he is now, nobody can beat him. I mean, he's just, the incumbent president, and he's there, and he holds the reins of power, even if it's his staff doing it. But he just cannot be beat in a primary under the current circumstances. So unless there's some sort of very dynamic shift that's not foreseen, he's going to be the candidate. Now, I think Michelle knows that. She's not going to burn up donors and all that kind of stuff trying to get in to beat him and create, internal civil war with the Democrats. But I agree, if not now, 4 years from now, I think she's going to be active. But again, I think she's perfectly willing to stick that little toe in the pool and kind of test the breezes and just see what happens and not declare, but, I'm here if you need me and that sort of thing, which, by the way, Hillary Clinton is, I would say, exactly the same position. She would love to run again, really wants to do it, but knows she can't do it under today's circumstances. But if there's a shift, you'd probably see some fight between the Clinton-Obama factions.
I think what people need to realize tonight, and we got about 5 minutes, a year in politics is like 20, because we're in the summer of 2023. We've not even got to the heart of the election season, and anything is possible between now and next November. I would say by a year from tonight, which will be the summer, because that's when the conventions are being held. The primaries will basically be sort of waning at that point, because primary season starts January 2024, and then you're talking 6 months. I think a year from tonight, we'll be back on this show together, me and you, and we're going to be talking about this, and we'll probably have a clearer picture, because all these things that we're talking about tonight are just opinions. Because I'm like you, I don't think we know where this is going. And I will ask you one question Elaine Willard asked: do you think any of these people, and I'll go ahead and answer this question for you, and I'll tell you wholeheartedly no. I don't think any of these criminals in our government are going to see justice, Brad. I think that there's too many forces around them to protect them. I do believe Merrick Garland, if it's proven that he, and that's another thing we didn't get to talk about. Maybe the next show we have you on soon. I want you to come back, because I do want to talk about the FBI's role in this. We didn't even get to that tonight. The FBI has a big problem right now. They are literally being seen as not only a people that are obstructing justice, but they are physically and politically getting involved in these criminal investigations to protect Hunter and Joe Biden, to protect the Democrats and go after Trump with this trumped up stuff. and they need to be dismantled. Ray needs to be in jail. But if Merrick Garland, to me, is found to have hindered this investigation, he should be impeached. That's the one I would rather see impeached. I don't think they got a prayer in hell to impeach Joe Biden. But I do believe that if they can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, have the documents in hand, a smoking gun document that shows his hand in the hindrance of this investigation, that's treason to me too. He should be impeached as Attorney General.
I would be, yeah, I would like to see all of the above.
I would too.
Myself.
I would too, without a doubt.
It's just, I think, unfortunately, that it hurts me to say this, but I think very unfortunately that the Durham report basically is the guide that's going to be used. And if you look back, it was very much like that in 2015, going into the election that Trump won, the first one against Hillary Clinton, when James Comey came out and said, well, yeah, Hillary Clinton did this, and there were these classified documents that were out there, but no prosecutor, and he laid out a perfect case of why she should be indicted. And then he said, yeah, but no prosecutor would go after this. This is just generally sloppy. Well, the words were different, but that's the essence of what the Durham report was. Well, there needs to be new procedures. They didn't follow the law and they did this wrong. Well, if you don't follow the law, what does that mean now? Oh, it's illegal. Yeah. So Durham said it's illegal what they did, but we need more training and we need to make sure that the systems that are in place are followed more closely. And all these guys did something illegal and nothing's being done. Nothing's ever done on these guys. I just
don't have a lot of hope. I just don't. I just don't have a lot of hope anything's going to be done. That's just me.
It's the reason why I came out quite a little while back and endorsed Trump. It is the reason why. Because Trump now understands this. He's been the brunt of it for years since he walked down the escalator, how many ever, 7, 8 years ago now. He's been the brunt of all of this stuff, and he's seen how this stuff works. He knows in his heart, absolutely, that the swamp are these people. And if anybody on God's green earth could become president and do anything about it, it is Trump and only Trump. Absolutely. That is one of the reasons why I endorsed him. There's other reasons too, but that's one of them. And that's the reason why I pick him over DeSantis. Because while I like DeSantis, okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with DeSantis per se. DeSantis does not view it that way. He does not understand that those people have to go to make this system, honest and the American way and justice and, not all this two-tier justice system and not seeing the government politicized and weaponized and all this sort of stuff. So it's the reason why I know Trump. I think most Americans that are rational feel the way that that I do, and I think you do, and all of that, and why Trump's support is so unwavering, because he's the only guy that can help us.
I'll agree with that. Politically, yes, I totally agree with that. Listen, we hadn't had you on in a while. We're so good to see you tonight, and I'm going to get you back on in July, because I do want to talk about the FBI in general. I don't know if you remember the night one of the first times we met, and we had dinner, and I asked you a question that night, and I said, what would you do with these 3-letter agencies that are running the country? And you told me something, and I'll just run this by you. Got to answer it quick, but I want to talk about this more in detail when we get back together later in July, sometime in July, once you come back. And you said something to me that night, and I want to ask you: do you still believe this would solve this problem? You said that you would take the top 5 offices, the top 5 people in every agency, FBI, CIA, NSA, the government, whatever these letter agencies are, fire them, get rid of the top down. Don't go from the bottom up, but the top down. Clean house, start again, and put fresh blood in there from outside D.C. Do you think that would solve the problems with these agencies, or do you think it would just change the fleas, not the dog?
I think it would go a long way. It would not be a silver bullet solution. There'd still have to be a lot more done. But my thoughts on that were that you just clean as much of the house at the top as you can, put in brand new people, and then have them start working their way down. replace those people underneath them with people who are honest, loyal, patriotic citizens that want to do the work of the United States of America and national security and those things, and are not trying to do the work of their political party. So that would be how I would start it and move down. I mean, I think it needs to be done in combination with a RIF. For anyone familiar with government, that's a reduction in force. That was the tactic that Jimmy Carter used against the CIA to try and destroy the CIA, where he fired, 1,500 people one Thursday night. Black Thursday, I think, is the term people have used. And that tactic can be used elsewhere. And there is no question in anybody's mind that government is bloated and overlapping. So me personally, I would use RIFs. I would cut the heads off of all of them, start backfilling better people underneath them. I would use all of those tactics, and I would heavily reorganize the U.S. government in every way that I could. Like what we've seen for the FBI cannot have an intelligence function.
Yeah,
it has to be criminal.
I'll agree.
And those have to be separated. And at the end of World War II, there was a lot of people thinking about it hard, and that is why they took the CIA, which was OSS, out of the military and created a civilian organization, because you don't want too much power in too few hands. And instead, what happened is that the FBI built its own internal CIA. And that now we have seen the way that the FISA warrant system and the targeting of candidate Trump and later President Trump, that is the corruption that has grown out of the FBI, the cause being that 1/3 of the FBI is actually a mini CIA, and 2/3 of it is still criminal.
Excellent.
And
excellent.
That has to be fixed. And those are the types of things that you would be reorganizing within a government, and the overlap between the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA, the FBI, the military, going on and on and on. I mean, almost every agency out there worth its salt has its own intelligence agency within it, and the analytical overlap and all this stuff is just beyond belief. And we could probably cut government spending by 50% and make the government work, twice as well.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. But I think that, again, and it sort of goes to Elaine's question about these criminals, Brad, until we get the people that are supposed to be overseeing our Justice Department to do right, then we are going to have a two-tier justice system. And it's probably more than two-tier at this point. It's more like 16. It's probably like 20 tiers. There ain't no telling how many tiers of justice we got going on right now. And it's a scary thing, because the only people they're going after are the conservatives. They're only going after the people that really care about the country. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's accurate. That's just the way it is. That they're going after the people that care about the country. Well, it's the leftist philosophy. It's basically communism, Marxism. I mean, it is the philosophy. What is important is to be loyal to the party. Nothing else matters. So for a loyal party member, if you haven't paid your federal taxes for 3 years, it's not that big a deal. It's just not important, because you're a loyal party member. It's okay if you do that. You've been busy with other stuff doing party work. So it's all right. That's how communists view these things. They legitimately believe that. If you go talk to some average, pretty hard left Democrat that's out there, which is the average Democrat, and say, how big a deal is it that Hunter Biden was on drugs and bought a gun and didn't pay his federal taxes for 3 years? They're going, no, he's the son of the vice president. And, basically their argument is going to be, well, he's a hardcore party member, therefore it's okay. And they believe that. I mean, which is asinine. I can call them daft imbeciles if I don't overplay that word too much here, but it's how these guys are. It's how they view it. It's nuts.
That word cannot be overplayed, because now it has been incorporated into the McFiles dictionary. There's a T-shirt cut. I'm going to make that a summer fundraiser. Salute to the daft imbeciles of America, and I'm going to send you a T-shirt just from a official McFiles family. So
Well, I'll put it on the shelf back here behind me. With your, I have the hat you gave me. I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but it's the red one up at the top, and it says the McFiles there.
By the way, did Elvis go on your trip with you? Did he enjoy his scenery? Did he sing for you? Did you take him as your personal songster or something?
Yeah, no, he definitely likes to go. He likes to work on his tan a bit, because behind that brick wall, he doesn't get that much natural light. So, yeah, he likes to get out in the sun. He spent most of his time eating sandwiches made from peanut butter, bananas, and bacon, and getting a tan, which my tan is better. I don't know if you could see, but
yeah,
I did better than Elvis.
Yeah. Well, buddy, listen, you delivered, I knew like you would tonight, and I appreciate you coming back on. I really appreciate you, buddy. You just don't know, and I've enjoyed this friendship. I've enjoyed our journey, and I'm going to see you again soon. We hadn't had a steak in a long time. We need to get up and see you and fellowship with you, and I'll see you soon. But thank you for being with me tonight. And listen, I'll get with you. We'll pick something in July, and we'll do this again. I do want to deal with this FBI and these agencies and some other things. I will ask you one quick question. Got 1 minute to this answer because our time is out. Is there any justice coming for Trump to sue these people for this Russia hoax thing? That's another thing we didn't get. We'll talk about that more in July. You think he's going to have any luck getting justice for the hoax stuff?
I don't think he's going to do it. I mean, the pathway to do this is that he has to sue them in civil court. And based on the Durham report, he could probably win some of these civil court cases. Once he wins a civil court case, that can then be used as a basis to ask for criminal proceedings. So that's the pathway. It would take time. It's not something that's going to be done,
right
in
away.
a year.
Yeah. That's true.
So
that's true.
But that is the pathway. I hope he does it. I wish he would do it. I think it would do him political good. If I were an advisor of his, I would be advising him to do it. But I think people are telling him not to bother, or he doesn't want to take the time.
Well, somebody suggested you become his advisor for 2024. I would amend that. He should call you up tonight. You get of all the people that I've heard talk about good advice, you give the best. He should really seriously consider picking up the phone and calling you, Johnson, and saying, "I need your help."
Well, he knows who I am. I know for a fact he knows who I am. He calls me that CIA guy.
Okay. Well, that's three terms. That CIA guy, kabuki dance, and daft imbeciles. So we've learned three new words tonight in the McFiles ever-increasing dictionary. That I can't say daft imbecile will replace dumb foolery, but it's close. It's close. It's going to be right up there under 1A, maybe. Buddy, I appreciate you. Listen, speaking of the Durham report, that'll be something else we can talk about next month because we didn't have time to talk about it tonight, and I want to get your thoughts on that because I hadn't seen you in so long. I'll see you soon. We'll get that steak. God bless you, Brad Johnson.
Good night. Thank you very much, Chris, and good night to the McFiles family. It's always a pleasure.
IntelReform.org, folks. Join his website, and there's a way to help him monthly if you'd like to. Thank you, Brad Johnson. Put some fire in that house for him. Thank you, buddy. I'll be in touch. Good night.
All right, Chris. Good night.
Man, what a good guy right there. We appreciate Brad so much, and we are grateful that you're with us tonight. I'm going to come back over here. I'm not going to keep you long. We've been going an hour and 12 minutes. We've done longer shows than that before, so you're not too punch drunk just yet. Was that good tonight or what? I mean, oh my goodness. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good questions. Thank you all for being a good audience. And we are Oh, how do you spell daft? How do you spell daft? Is it D-A-F-T? I guess that's how you spell it. D-A-F-T. Daft. That is my new nickname. So next time, it's not going to ever replace dumb foolery. That is a McFiles original. But daft imbecile. I'll have to give Johnson sort of half credit for that one now. Daft imbecile. Just a daft imbecile. It sounds McFiles-ish. And let's just be frank with each other right here tonight, folks. We got a bunch of daft imbeciles running this country. And we got a bunch of daft imbeciles running around the country. And we got a bunch of daft imbeciles trying to tell us what to do. Anyway, all right. Did you enjoy McFiles Thursday night? We ain't even done with the week yet, man. We ain't even got to the good stuff yet. Tomorrow night, the one and only Cleo Cleotis is back from down under. Now she's scared to death. She wants me to tell her what we're going to talk about. We know one thing we're going to talk about tomorrow night, but she knows number two. We're going to talk about the word daft imbecile. I'm going to figure out what it means down under, what that means in Australia. And I'm just in a jolly old, good old mood tonight for many reasons. But I just love seeing my buddy Brad Johnson. Me and Brad, we met through Christopher Hall, and need to get Chris back on the show. We ain't had Chris back on forever. And Chris is the one who introduced me to Brad, and I got to meet Brad in person for the first time, probably about a year into the show, 2019. And we've really become friends. He's not even a guest anymore. And I love hearing his wisdom, and he sees the world from a perspective that not too many see it. And I would encourage you to take what he has to say at heart, folks. Look, he's speaking from experience, 30 years of being out there fighting against these enemies that are tearing our country apart from within tonight. That's what's so sad to me when he's on, because I look at him, and he gave his life to protecting this country. And I know that a lot of people have their opinions about the CIA and all that. But, folks, there are rank and file people that literally did care about protecting the nation. And Brad Johnson was one of them. And he is one of them. And he cares about his country. And James Keever is another one. And Weaver, he's coming back on. James is great. I sent him a message this afternoon, and I'm hoping he can come back on. He'll sort of fill in some of the blanks that Brad didn't fill in tonight. And they both know each other. They both work with the same agency. And I trust people like Brad Johnson. When he tells me something, I'll listen to him. And I appreciate his insight. And I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It was fun. And he's always fun. And it's just been a pleasure getting to know him. And I'm grateful he's back. And he's going to be back with us next month for sure. Listen, we got some great guests coming next week. We got July 4th coming up Tuesday. We'll have a weekend show. We'll probably have a Saturday night sing, and then maybe a Sunday after. We'll have a Sunday morning meeting time program. Probably not Sunday night. It's the 4th of July weekend. We're going to give you a chance to be with your family. But we're definitely going to have Sunday morning. You don't want to miss that. Not sure about Saturday night. Now, tomorrow morning, on our Faith Network, we may or may not be here. We said today we might be back with a Bible study tomorrow. We're not sure about that. Just 100%. We're about 80% sure we will. But if we don't, the next program will be tomorrow night, right here, back on the E-Network. And we'll do this again. And Cleo's warming up in the bullpen. And she's going to talk about daft imbeciles. Including the host. I will probably get an email this week. You are nothing but a daft imbecile, McDonald. I can see it right now. You are nothing but a daft imbecile. That's all right. I've been called worse. But that is pretty fun. I got to figure out how to spell that word, and then that'd be a t-shirt. All right. I'm in a good mood tonight. Thank you all for being with us. It's 9:30. I'm out of here. We hope you enjoyed Brad Johnson. If you did, put some fire in that house. We'll play the clip tomorrow night of John Solomon. This was priceless stuff. I have it tonight, but I'm going to save it till tomorrow night. We're going to play the clip of John Solomon. Biden getting the Hunter Biden burner phone. And Daddy Joe being on the end of it. Smoke up, Johnny. Smoke up, Johnny. It was good. But anyway, all righty. Did you enjoy this tonight? Good to see everybody. Thank you all for being with me tonight. McDonald out on this Thursday night. Brad Johnson, salute, buddy. God bless you, friend. Good stuff tonight. I appreciate Brad. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being with us. We got a few announcements we're going to make about some changes coming. And changes we're grateful for. And I don't want to share it tonight. We will maybe tomorrow night or over the weekend. But it will, you'll enjoy the news. I'll just say it like that. All right, listen. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless this great nation of America. I've been glad to be with you tonight. Even you daft imbeciles out there. We love you. Lord, it's Brad Johnson's fault. Blame him. Blame him. He's the one who gave me the word. It's not Chris. He's the one that gave me the word. But we love you with the love of Jesus. We really do. And we hope you have a good night out there. And I will see you when I see you. Where's my song? Did I delete it? Well, doggone it. Well, I guess I did delete it. Doggone it. Well, what did I do with that? I can't even find my exit song. Is that pitiful or what? So, oh, no, I did not delete it. There it is. All righty. Let me go out of here with this again. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow night on the McFiles. Same time.